Welcome to Look Behind the Look, the celebrated podcast that explores your favorite looks in film, television, and fashion history. Through conversations with the fashion world's elite and award-winning hair, makeup, and costume designers on sets around the world, you will see and hear exciting tales from behind the scenes, career origin stories, and tons of advice and tips. I'm your host, Tiffany Bartok. Hey everybody, welcome to Look Behind the Look. This is another episode where I'm covering some of the documentaries at Doc NYC. Be sure to check out the menu of documentaries at Doc NYC. The program is amazing, always is. But this time there's quite a few documentaries that you're going to want to check out as people who are interested in the history of fashion and pop culture. And today I'm bringing you an episode about Kenneth Cole. His documentary is A Man with Soul, the Kenneth Cole documentary. And you're definitely going to want to check it out, especially if you're one of the kids, the young ones who are learning about fashion history, because in this documentary, you're going to see the great importance of the social impact that Kenneth Cole had and the voice that fashion had and can have. Again, I, for one, think it might have been lost a little bit, the larger message that fashion has the ability and power to sort of get out there. And so I have a guest host today. It is Lauren Rykoff, my dear, dear friend and sister. She is the producer that's going to be running this because I was seeing movies and everybody was available at different times and very specific times. And so we sort of divided and conquered this this week. So enjoy guest host Lauren Rykoff. She's going to be talking to Kenneth and Dori, who are bringing this film to you. And be sure to check it out. I have all the information about how you can see the film down in the show notes, and I want to hear what you think for sure.
It's not just about how many shoes or suits or bottles of fragrance can we sell and to whom. It's how do we impact people's lives.
I was intent on going to law school, but I immersed myself in the shoe business at the time. I never ended up going to law school.
Law, I believe, is about learning a book. These are all the rules, and he who ultimately who interprets them the best goes the furthest. Business, there was no book, and especially the fashion business, and you write your own essentially every day. And I was fascinated by what everything stood for. And up until that point, I had very little interest in women's shoes and in fashion. But it's engineering, it's sculpture, it's design. I learned quickly that it's easier to get financing from a factory in Italy that needs business than from an American bank that doesn't. And I knew I had little time to do it because I had limited resources to work with. So I found suppliers and I went to Italy, designed my first line of ladies' shoes, not knowing where that would take me. And I came back and had to sell it.
All right. So, Dori, really, congratulations to you on bringing this story to life. So many of us in watching this film are going to be really surprised to recognize that the through line of your life, Kenneth, isn't just fashion. It's eradicating stigma. So why now? Why tell this story now?
Well, thank you for asking the question. I think that's probably, Dori could probably answer the why now because it was Dori's fault.
Right.
It would probably not. I'm not sure the story would be told right now, but I think I'm so happy that it is, and I think because there's so much right now, so much of this storytelling and resulting polarization that is overwhelming all of us in different ways, and but when we set out to do this, it was originally I was just trying to, as a business person, is in the fashion business specifically, I was trying to figure out how to make what I do relevant, and it's hard sometimes to consistently do that with fashion. And and I figured early on in my career that if I could talk to people about not just what's on their body, what's on their mind, not just what they stand in, what they stand for, then I'd have such a more meaningful and sustainable relationship with the customer. And initially it was HIV because was on everybody's minds, but on nobody's lips because stigma was so horrific. If you even spoke about it, you were presumed to be a member of one of the high risk groups, all of which was stigmatized, which is intravenous drug users, gay men, or Haitian individuals. And I was afraid people might think I was Haitian, being a single male designer. But in all seriousness, I went down that road because I could, and maybe I'm not sure I should have or would have, or in the ordinary circumstances. But and it changed me. It changed the man, changed the brand, changed the company in so many profound ways. So, and it was originally kind of a business thing, and then it became a very personal thing. And then Amphar asked me to join the board. After that, they were really the only credible organization out there that was addressing a solution, which was cure in my mind. And so I joined the board, and then we took over all their marketing, communications, and advertising internally here at the company. So everybody in this company was part of Amphar. It wasn't just me. And so we infused basic business principles into philanthropy and philanthropy into the business. And it wasn't just something we did, it became part of who we were and who we are to this day. And I do believe that we have a retention rate in the company double anybody else's that I know. And I think it's part of it. They're not here necessarily because of me, but they're here because of what we do. And what they do is bigger than just bringing fashion to the world. So
without a doubt, it is. It's so much bigger than that. Although that's not to say that the fashion that you bring isn't beloved for a reason. I actually want to ask you, Dori, what made you want to start the film and bring us into Kenneth's world with that story?
Well, it's exactly what we're talking about. I think just the scrappiness and the resourcefulness and the I'm going to figure it out no matter what. Don't tell me it can't be done. It can be done. Kind of is the ethos that Kenneth, at least that I have observed, and over the 40 years that we documented, basically it came up over and over again, and it is, I think, those unreasonable expectations that he's had, whether in business or in cause, has, and that scrappiness and determination and authenticity has led to this incredible success in whatever he has been involved in. And the fusion of the two really sets an entire new bar for how business can happen. And so, to me, it's very powerful.
Yeah, it was. It immediately brought me in a way that I didn't expect to be. And again, as a native New Yorker, I thought I knew everything or many things about the work that you do, Kenneth, but that was an incredible story and brought, just brought us right in. I want to spend one more minute kind of in those early days of the AIDS epidemic and the incredibly brave messaging that you started putting out there. You didn't seem, whether or not you were even concerned behind the scenes of what your social consciousness could do or not do for your clients, your customers, you seemed fearless in your approach and putting that message out. So I just have to say, I think my favorite, I remember seeing the billboard that for Amphar, it was the, and I think it's at the end of the movie, if the Pope had AIDS, he'd need more than just your prayers. And I think that you have such a collection, and it's so iconic, your campaigns around Amphar, around the AIDS epidemic, and now, of course, going into mental health. Do you have a favorite?
That's a hard question. I don't, probably the favorite, my favorites are the ones that I could not get told, but I found a way to tell them. I mean, the one you're referring to is an example of it. We did it was called the If campaign. We did a series of ads. If your child had AIDS, he'd need more than just a pair of clean socks, or if the president had AIDS, he'd need more than just your vote. And a series of those hypothetical scenarios, and then the one about the Pope. And I showed it to the board of Amphar, and they said, "Great, but you can't run the Pope ad." So I said, "Okay, I accept your feedback." And then we had a big press conference. This was before social media, and I showed them all the ads we were going to run. It was up at the UN. And then I said, "By the way, this is the ad we're not going to run." and we showed the Pope, and that was when they got photographed and was on the cover of Daily News and Newsday the next day, and accompanied by a letter from the Archdiocese saying a cease and desist letter by 12 o'clock, not to run the ad we were not going to run. So, and we didn't, but at the end of the day, it got way more publicity than any of the ones we did run, and it helped us communicate an important message.
It did. And
essentially that everybody was vulnerable. That was the message.
Right.
Right.
Which was such a theme in so many of the campaigns that, it's happening to all of us. It's not just you. Do you feel like that is still prevalent in the fashion world today, that sense of bravery or being outspoken?
Well, social media has redefined bravery, I think, and because today there's all these people do stuff anonymously, and you can be disruptive and you can be inappropriate, whoever you are, wherever, and you can do it anonymously, and you can be yourself, and you can be a bot, or you can, and so these are very different times, and the polarization makes it really, really hard. And how do you to respectfully disagree with each other is almost impossible today. And hopefully that all changes. And I have some thoughts on that, but we don't have enough time for that today. But I've loved taking on subjects and opportunities and problems that probably a normal person would not. And a responsible business executive probably would have stayed clear of most of the things we talk about. We've talked about women's reproductive rights 30 years ago. We talk about guns and gun safety and the right to bear arms in 1989. We talked about death penalty. We talked about all these things that you were not supposed to talk about. But I think hopefully we were able to find the tone that made sense. It was before social media, so it was less inappropriate than it might have been perceived today.
Right.
And but I just love that I was able to do so much of what I did, and I did it as a private company, then I did it as a public company. I was criticized as a public company. We traded on the New York Stock Exchange for 20 years, and people said, "How do you talk about these political issues as a public CEO with public dollars?" And my answer was always, "These are not political issues. These are social issues. These are human issues. These are public health issues, all of which have been politicized, but they are not political issues." So, and that's the nuance, but it was more than that, because I was doing this before we went public. I did it during, and then I've done it since.
You say quite clearly in the film, and Dori, you do such a beautiful job of really showcasing this in different periods of Kenneth's life. But information is empowerment, and the sharing of information is what we can give back. If we have a microphone and a platform, we can give back in a big way. I mean, the work you're doing around mental health now and continuing to eradicate stigmas across so many suicide, so many issues that are touching this younger generation. Is there anything you haven't spoken out about yet that you're like, we've got to tackle this?
I think we have to tackle right now how these algorithms are overwhelming all our lives. They're infusing hate into all the rhetoric out in the world. And if somebody doesn't figure that out, we got a problem quickly. So, but other than that, I've spoken about most things. But
I think you'd find many of us would join that coalition against the algorithms for sure. But let's talk about your early days in New York City. I love the fact you're not a trust fund kid who started a fashion company. You were selling peanuts on a corner, and then you went to Madison Square Garden and got a job. So how do you think that New York City really played a part in making you the man that you are today?
I think New York is this culture hub, and there's anything you could ever dream about, exists somewhere here in New York. And it challenges every aspect of one. I loved sports when I was a young boy, and I would play whatever I could, whenever I could, but I also needed and wanted to make money. So I figured out maybe I could sell peanuts at Shea Stadium, and then ultimately in and see all the Met games, and then at Madison Square Garden and see the Knicks games and the Ranger games, and I did that, and that was great, and I was resourceful in how I got those jobs, and how I kept them, and I guess I was resourceful at most things that I did, and I would figure out what was the optimal scenario, and or as Dori often refers to it as my unrealistic expectations, and I would figure out how to bring them to life if I could.
Well, I think resourcefulness and, as us New Yorkers would say, or just being so darn scrappy, was so evident in the very first scene of the film, when you told the story about Kenneth Cole Productions and the birth of a shoe company. Can you guys tell me, before I let you go, just where can viewers go to see this incredible film? How can they be a part of the story?
Thank you. We're going to be at Doc NYC on the 18th and the 21st, and then we're look forward to rolling out beyond that, and hopefully everyone will have a chance to see the film. We're really excited to get it out there.
I can't wait for everyone to see it, and like I said, it's
Thank you.
It's an incredible story and inspiring, very, very inspiring. So I'm so grateful to you guys. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us at the Look Behind the Look, and enjoy the rest of your day.
We appreciate
Thank you
it.
so much.
Look Behind the Look is a Vinyl Foot production, written by me, your host, Tiffany Bartok, produced by Jace Bartok, edited by Mugresh Thakor. If you're interested in learning more, find our video version on the YouTube channel, Look Behind the Look Podcast. There you can see rare photos and clips from our guests. And please follow us on Twitter at LookBehindPod and Instagram at LookBehindTheLook. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. And tell your friends and spread the word. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or any podcatcher of your choice. Thanks for listening to Look Behind the Look.